Hey everyone, today I thought I'd try something a little bit different. Today we're going to be making or I'm going to be doing my Dead by Daylight map tier list. Yeah, let's get right into it. Cold Tower, easy S tier. Best map in the game by far. It might be a little bit too small for pubs, I think. The In pubs, sometimes gens go super fast and sometimes they don't. And when they don't, the map being that small doesn't help all the time, but yeah, that's I don't think that's fair to take points off of Cold Tower because that's not the map's fault. Wretched Shop. This map is I don't like this map. It's not a good map. They screwed it up with the rework. They The shack side is too strong. I think it's not super strong. I think it's a little bit too strong. And the main building site is far too weak with the giant dead zone that they've added behind the main building because I guess they just got lazy. Next up is Ormond. I like Ormond. Ormond's a pretty good map. Um, it might be a little bit too big. Yeah, it's too big, but yeah, it's cool. It's a it stands out from all the other maps visually. The main building is a little bit too strong, I think, but most of the player base doesn't seem to know how to use it to their advantage. So I think it's A tiers. It's gonna sit at A tier. Ironworks of Miseries. I think it's either top of B tier or bottom of A tier. It's a very well designed map. Um, Even like the dead areas are placed in a strategic area where, there's most of the action won't even be there anyway. So yeah, it's a little bit too big, and there's an infinite upstairs, which should never be in any map in this game. Yeah, it's gonna sit at B tier. Larry's Memorial, easy F tier. This map just rids the entire out of every map in the game. I think this is the worst. Like it's not the ugliest map. It's a very ugly map, but I don't think it's the number one ugliest map in the game. Uh, the one thing this map does though is it gets rid of everything conventional about this game. I don't think conventional is the word, but like there's all the core gameplay mechanics of Dead by Daylight get thrown out the window when you're on this map. Like there's just no you don't think when you loop. The pallets are way too unsafe. The windows are way too unsafe. You just run. You just hold W. If you see a window, you just vault in. You just keep running and you just run to the next thing. Like there's occasionally you get to a room like maybe the library, or you get to a pallet that's not extremely unsafe, and then you can actually loop it. But yeah, there's like three of those on the whole map, and the map is also gigantic. So yeah, and out of all the indoor maps, it's one of the most enclosed and tight, so that doesn't help its case either. And for some reason, Behavior thinks that brightening the textures of the map is gonna make it a better map. It doesn't. Okay, someone needs to explain Behavior how to program their own game. Next we have Groaning Storehouse. I think it's gonna go above Ironworks of Misery. Now it's not as cool looking as the Ironworks of Misery, but I think it's better designed. I think it's smaller. It has like these little edges of the map that are sticking out that make the map bigger, but you don't have to go there. And then the good thing about this map too, it has in those corners there are tiles that can be chained together, which are strong, but you don't have to loop there. It's not like the middle of the map where everything's happening. You can leave those and finish the game completely fine without having to deal with it ever. Yeah, it's a well designed map. Rancid Abattoir, very good map. It's going A tier. Main building is very well balanced. It's not too strong and it's not too weak. I don't think it should have that palette next to the window. It might make it a little bit survivor sided, but yeah, the tiles are well spaced apart. The cow tree is well spaced from the other tiles too. Yeah, it's a very well designed map. Blood Lodge is gonna go in B tier. Like these go hand in hand for me. Blood Lodge and Ironworks, they're like basically the same map for me. The tiles are spaced out pretty much the same. There's more tiles on Blood Lodge. It's a little bit more survivor sided, so that's why it goes behind Ironworks. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good map. But I know some people don't like this map. I like it. It's staying at B tier. Dead Dog Saloon's a good map. It's objectively a good map. It's a small map. It doesn't have infinites. The loops at main building are a little bit strong, with all the breakable walls that the killer needs to break. Yeah, the one thing about this map, it has too many breakable walls. Every like window or pallet, or it's windows mostly. Every window is extremely safe until you break the wall, and there's like almost every window that is inside a building has a breakable wall that you need to break. So I think it's gonna go in B tier. It's gonna go behind. It's gonna go here. Just because Blood Lodge is a little bit too survivor sided. But yeah, if you got rid of those breakable walls, this map would be a very good map. And the only thing I also don't like about this map is the little houses that are all next to each other in that line. I don't like, tiles that aren't conventional loops like TNLs and jungle gyms. I don't like those. They're not very intuitive. Yamaoka Estate. This map's kind of cool to look at, from a bird's eye view. Once you like sit down and your character's camera is on the ground, it's a terrible map. It's not like horrible. That's why it's going in C tier, but it's just there's too much grub going on. There's lots of times where you can't even see scratch marks just 'cause there's too much grass. There's too much bamboo. The main building's not that bad when it comes to loops. There's just a few strong windows, and the map is too big. That's another thing. But the thing I have with these Yamaoka maps is that when they have these little temples, those like little mini temples that have the one window on it, usually, like typically around that area, that mini temple area, there's nothing. It's just a huge dead area. And those are usually, like in the mid area of the map, so that's not too good. Red Forest, D tier, way too big. Main building has infinite. Actually, it's gonna go E tier. It's way too survivor sided. Main building is far too strong and the map is way too big. On certain killers, like maybe Hillbilly or Freddy, it's could be D tier, but most killers like I play Huntress. This map is impossible to play on with Huntress. Even if once you get up to a survivor and get in, within hatchet distance, there's too many trees and rocks, and they're all, buddy close up to each other. They're all like one object, so it's gonna stay there. Auto Haven Wreckers. I think this map is good. It's just good. It's like very average good. The 3-gen thing that some of these maps have, this map has it. It's not a good map design, but that's the only thing bad I have to say about it. And the fact that the tiles in the middle can all be chained together, that's also bad. but it's not as worse as the suffocation pit on Macmillan. We'll get to that later. Haddonfield's an F. Haddonfield's an F. It's aesthetically pleasing. Until you look up and you see all the the freaking Game Boy textures on the ceiling. But yeah, there's almost every house. There's only one variant of houses in Haddonfield that don't spawn with infinites, and there's still even on that house. There's still a 50-50 chance that there will be an infinite. Like there's a 50% chance there'll be a door next to the overpowered window, and there's a 50% chance that there won't. So yeah, Haddonfield straight F, way too survivor sided. It's not too big, but it's the infinites and the it just takes you out of it. Next up is Grim Pantry. It's a fat E tier. Whole map is bad. Its swamp is ugly. It's gray. It's there's no solid loops that either side has. It's more this, like, when you're on these maps, the survivor just kind of runs around and just hopes for the best, because there's no conventional loops that they can use effectively. But it's balanced out by the fact that the main building has an infinite. The main building is overpowered on Grim Pantry. Yeah, next we have Midwich Elementary School. Fat F tier. Ugliest map in the game. Like I was talking about earlier. Yeah, it's just horrible. I've been getting this. I keep getting this map. I don't know why. I know this map like the back of my hand, and it's horrible. I wish I could get my mind wiped. The stairs, there's not enough. There should be stairs in every corner. I don't know why there's not stairs in every corner. Yeah, the square hallway design is not good design. It might be cool for a horror game, albeit not very scary considering how open it is. All the weird gooey stuff at the damp, dark gray, purplish gooey things sitting around. I don't know what that's about. If that's the entity, I don't know. The entity was had a fetish for looking dark purple, almost to the point of being gray. Yeah, it's just a horrible map. I hate this map so much with a burning passion. I couldn't bring myself to put in the effort of putting all the bad ham maps together, because I gotta admit I can't remember what all the layouts are, because they're mostly the same. They're extremely similar, so I thought it was fair to just put them all in one. They're gonna go in B tier. They're gonna go here above Blood Lodge. They're fair maps. I think they're fair maps. They lack the conventional tiles, which I think is a great core mechanic of Dead by Daylight. Next up is Rotten Fields. This map is just dead. It's just not interesting. It's technically good design. The loops aren't close together, but it's too big. So I think C tier is fine. Pale Rose. This map and both of the swamp maps, they're basically, they have the exact same problems, with the whole map sucking except for the infinites on the main building. Except this map is a little bit better than Grim Pantry, because the infinite on the main building isn't as overpowered. There aren't as many pallets surrounding the infinites as well, and there's only like 2 windows, and there's like 3 windows on this map, so including 4 or 5 including the basement, and there's more pallets at the main building here too. So yeah, that's gonna go there. Suffocation Pit is here. It's worse than Auto Haven Wreckers, or well, Wreckers Yard, or I don't know. I think it's Auto Haven Wreckers. uh, yeah, It's the same map as this map, except this map is a little bit more survivor sided. There's the tiles in the middle can chain like ridiculously. The killer, it gets to the point where the killer can't do anything unless you're playing like spirit or something, and then you have a strong power. There's nothing you can do at the middle area. The map is also a little bit too big, and it also suffers from the 3 gen level design. But it's the main building also has an infinite that the killer cannot catch up on. um yeah, I think it is still a Macmillan map. Everyone knows that, Macmillan maps are usually good for the same reasons. Like the loops are, most of the time, they're well spaced out. Uh, yeah, I think it's gonna stay there. Temple of Purgation is a very good map design. I think it's not my favorite visually. Like, I like Ormond, definitely like Ormond nicer than this map. It's not a very interesting map to look at, but it's gameplay wise, it's a very good map. Um, like it's very gray, boring, but the tiles are well spaced apart. It might have a little bit too many safe pallets. But yeah, it's almost pitch perfect. It's a like pretty, like, leaning more towards the small maps too. It's not too big. It might be not small enough, but only by a little bit. It might be a teensy bit too big, but not enough to really make that much of a difference. Gas Heaven's a very aesthetically pleasing map to look at. It's the Auto Haven map. It's not good. It's not a very good design though, level design. The whole mid area, like, where the gas sign is, that whole mid area has nothing. There's probably like 2 pallets there, and that makes up a giant portion of the map. And there's only 3 tiles, or 4 tiles, I think, and they're all very far apart. So you better be good at looping the killer shack. I've had a few times where nothing spawns here except for TNLs or pallet gems. So yeah, it's gonna. I think it's gonna go at C tier. Like, it's these two, and Rotten Fields and Gas Heaven are the same gameplay wise. I think Gas Heaven's a nicer looking map than most of these maps in B tier, but gameplay wise, it's just not a good map, in my opinion. Wrecker's Yard is a good map. It's a very boring map to look at. It's gonna go here. I think everything is a little bit too, like, bunched up. I think everything's too close to shack by a little bit. Like, everything going on is around shack. Like, if you stay in shack for the whole game, you'll probably hear a heartbeat like 90% of the time you spend in that match. Yeah, I still think it's a good design though. The tiles might be a little close. Like I said, everything's very bunched up, but I think it's fair because since everything's bunched up, the killer doesn't have a hard time patrolling, so that's good. I have nothing in D tier, but this map is not D tier. This map's a good map. It has an infinite though. It always spawns an infinite main building. So I think it's gonna go here. Tiles are well spaced apart. There aren't, those giant, like, safe pallets that can spawn on, the Coldwind, Macmillan, Auto Haven. Yeah, it's pretty good. Like I like Crotus Prentice Asylum. Or not Crotus Prentice, Father Campbell's Chapel. You know, the clown areas. It looks cool. Could probably use maybe another palette there. But yeah, everything's pretty well spaced apart. Torment Creek. This map is just average. It's kind of boring, you know. I think the side opposite of Shack is a little bit too strong. When Cowshed, or not Cowshed, Couch respawns there, that chains into two other tiles. I think that's a little bit too strong. But other than that, it's a good map. Technically, I think it's gonna go here. Alright, we have the game. The game is not as ugly anymore. It's still pretty ugly. But I can like look at it now and not throw up, so that's something. Still a badly designed map though. I guess it go right there. I think that's a perfect spot for it, at least for me. There's too many pallets. 2 floors is always a bad thing. Yeah, and the bottom floor is too enclosed, too tight. Can't, you know, see enough. Can't see far enough. Yeah, it's gonna stay there. RPD. Oops. I like RPD, and I know most people don't like it. Here's the thing. I've played the Resident Evil game that has this map in it, and I know my way around it now. So when, like, on one hand, when you're playing Survivor, either side, I think it's just going D tier. Either side has an extremely hard time on this map. If you don't know your way around, but if you do know if you do know your way around, it's not that bad as Survivor. It's still extremely bad as Killer because you can't use your power, but yeah, I think D tier's good for me. If for most people you don't know your around your map, it's gonna go an F tier. For me, it's D tier. At least when I'm playing Survivor. If it's Killer, yeah, it's going F tier. Hawkins is not a good map. It's better than Backwater, I think. I think it's going to go at the top of E tier. You know, I think it's the best indoor map. I know Raccoon City is here, but that's just like biased towards. I'm just very biased. It's not the best map. But like I'm just gonna keep it there for my own personal reasons. But yeah, I think Hawkins is the best indoor map. It's one of the more open indoor maps. I think there's too much junk in the hallways. Like let's say I'm playing Huntress. There's already enough walls, man. I don't need more stuff blocking my vision. But yeah, it's a little too big. Second floor is absolutely useless. Like you could cut off that entire second floor and the map wouldn't change gameplay wise. Yeah, it's gonna stay there. Sanctum of Wrath is Yamaoka's estate, except a little bit worse because it has the 3-gen issue, and also the main building is like abhorrent. It's like a sad excuse for a main building. If it wasn't, the only reason it's a main building is because it's like higher up than everything else. If it was on the floor, it would be such like just a blah main building. It has nothing. It has a window on the stairs and an unsafe pallet and a generator, and that is it. Nothing else. Yeah, it's just gonna stay there. bottom of C tier. Shelter Woods is better than these maps. Better. I think it's gonna go there. I don't like Shelter Woods that much, but I can't deny it's technically, it's objectively a good map. You know, this map doesn't even have a main building. Like, it has a tree. It's just a regular tree, except fatter. The tiles are well spaced apart. I think it relies on Shack a little bit too much. Shack is like the hotspot for this map. Yeah, I think it's staying at C tier. Crotus Print Asylum, terrible map. They somehow managed to add breakable walls next to the infinites, and then they don't help. Like, they're too far away from the windows to, for the killer to be able to use effectively. So yeah, I think it's better than Backwater Swamp though. It's gonna go here for me. I know lots of people like this map, but it's just, I don't think it's a good map. Tiles are too close together as well. Cowshed. Now, this map is extremely survivor-sided, but it's more fun to play on than most maps. The thing is, most people don't know how to effectively chain the loops together, and if they do, the killer usually just leaves them, right? Once they get to a strong area, and usually those strong areas are only in one corner of the map, so you don't have to, it's usually next to Shack. Like, you don't have to, patrol the area. You can just hold your 3-gen around in a different area of the map, right? So that's, yeah, it's kind of biased, but I think that's okay for it to go. Thompson House, I don't like Thompson House. It's cool. Thompson House looks really cool now with the update, but it's just pretty garbage gameplay wise. I do think it's better than some of these though. I think it's gonna go here. Like the tiles are well spaced, enough apart. There's not that many pallets other than the ones that are in the tiles. Yeah, I don't have very good experience with this map. Lots of bad random teammates experiences. But yeah, that's my map tier list. Let me know if you guys agree. Let me know what you disagree with and where you would put what your placements would be. If you guys enjoyed, leaving a like helps out a ton, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next video.